Swellpro are the pioneers in the waterproof drone and recently launched the Splash Drone 3, which they market as the world's first waterproof drone that can film 4K both above and underwater.
Swellpro, the pioneers of waterproof drones, has been leading innovation since 2013.
So we decided to put this drone to the ultimate test and take it with us on a trip to the Arctic. Before sailing out to sea, we first experimented with the drone at a nearby glacier. With strong wind conditions, the stability of the drone gave a good first impression, holding a steady hover even in wind gusts. Upon reviewing this footage, we noticed there was really something wrong with the camera. We were experiencing severe distortions in the footage, which we diagnosed as a vibration not being absorbed by the gimbal head. Swellpro simply advised us to tighten the gimbal screw. Unfortunately, this wasn't the issue, and it didn't solve any of our problems. Eventually, we narrowed it down to the gimbal mount itself, which we stabilized using some duct tape to build up some extra layers of support. This really isn't something you'd expect to have to do for a drone with a price tag at $1,700 US. We wanted to test our drone's low battery procedure. Strangely, all that's written in the manual is, "Drone will commence landing procedure." What we discovered was when the drone reaches 14.4 volts, it will start descending wherever it is. At this point, you can use sideways movements. There's no way to change this, and it is a bit of a problem for someone that may be launching from a boat, for example. We soon learnt to keep a close eye on the voltmeter on the remote control. These volts dropped rapidly, and we were averaging just 8-minute flights before being restricted to land the drone. The screen and signal on the remote was very disappointing, and on a couple of occasions the connection to the remote just simply dropped out. When this happened, we were able to press the return home function, and the drone did start returning to the location where we took it off. Another big problem with this drone is the Swellcam app. From here you can change ISO, video format and resolution, but once a setting is selected in the app, you can't always be sure it has translated to a change in the camera. To complicate the issue further, Wi-Fi functionality must be turned off before flying. Okay, but the main selling point of this drone is of course the fact that it's waterproof, right? We landed the drone a few times on water with success, and the camera seemed to do a pretty decent job filming underwater. But as you'd expect, when the drone took off from the water, often you were left with droplets of water on the lens. We're all familiar with the damage that salt water can cause to electrical products, and therefore we took a lot of care to rinse and dry this drone after each flight. But 2 weeks after returning from filming in the Arctic, the gimbal seemed to have completely seized up and required force to regain movement. I wanted to get some more experience flying and landing and taking off from water. Moments after rising from the creek, with no apparent warning and without my control, the drone suddenly took a dive, crashing into a nearby bush. We shared this footage with Swellpro and they offered to repair the drone. So I posted the drone back to China, and a month later we had a new drone from Swellpro. The new drone was now equipped with an upgraded black version of the camera. We really wanted this drone to be a success story because it promised everything we wanted in a drone: stable 4K filming and waterproof. While the new drone now seemed to fly better than the original version, sadly the camera hadn't improved. With the orange camera, we found that at 2880 resolution, we got the best results. Swellpro explained that, honestly speaking, the current camera performs better at lower resolution. However, we will release a full 4K camera later. I've tested this black camera out on every video setting possible. The higher frame rates looked average to say the least, and sharpness was terrible. Based on our experience, the top 6 reasons why not to buy this drone are: 1. Unreliability. Ultimately, this unit is unreliable, regularly dropping signal and connection mid-flight. Here's some footage of my most recent flight where it cut out just 200 meters away, line of sight, and the whole signal was out for over a minute before regaining signal again. 2. Poor camera quality. The 4K camera only puts out a maximum of 2880 by 2160 pixels at 24 frames per second. There's no manual controls for changing the camera settings during flight. The dynamic range is poor, and this camera does not seem to perform well at all in low light conditions. And I haven't even got started on the gimbal yet. Calibrating this gimbal is cumbersome, and regardless of what we did, the camera never seemed to stay level during pans, and this really made it tricky to get nice shots. 3. Failsafes. The craft will only return home if the signal goes. not if the battery is at low level. There's no way to change it, and it's essential for a drone like this that you'll most likely be using from a boat. 4. Battery life. Even in warmer conditions, it's a struggle to get a flight longer than 15 minutes with this drone, with most of our flights in the Arctic being cut to less than 10 minutes. 5. Usability. Changing settings with the app is difficult, and opening up the lid every time that you want to turn it off and on means that you're opening the lid in potentially moist environments, which may lead to damaging of the electronics. Also, the micro SD is really quite tricky to get out and put back in again. I recommend the use of some tweezers for this, but even still, it's not an easy process. 6. Durability. I do credit that we took this drone to Greenland, which is a pretty harsh environment, but a seizing up gimbal after just 2 weeks of use when we were rinsing it after every flight is not a promising sign. While the thought of a waterproof drone sounds very appealing, this product really performed poorly, especially compared to other similar priced competitors. While being waterproof is a great feature, it's completely undermined by inconsistent performance and poor image quality. While for now I'd recommend avoiding the Splash Drone 3, Swellpro do seem to be close to having a product here that could be really awesome for people that use drones around the ocean a lot. Maybe there's a Splash Drone 4 just around the corner from Swellpro, but for now I'd rather stick with the reliability of a non-waterproof drone that I knew I could trust.